This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Hey guys, Stanley here, and this is my parable. Yeah,
All of his
that's right.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yeah, it's me, Stanley. I know where the meeting room is. I'm Stanley.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Which door do I go through? Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling
no.
a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations.
Keep repeating.
For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
What?
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
How does he
No,
know?
Stanley said to himself. This
Hey
is
guys,
all
it's me,
too
Stanley.
strange. This can't
This
be
is
real.
me
And at last,
and my
he
story.
came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his
I'm
tongue.
Stanley.
He just hadn't found
This is
the
my
words
parable.
for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined
It's me,
himself
Stanley.
flying.
I'm gonna
and
trick
began
these
to gently
doors.
float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun. and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
He's right.
Now the voice
How
was
does he know?
describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly
This is
strange.
quite odd.
I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this
Stanley.
voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever
me,
been
Stanley.
in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over.
Hey guys, it's me, Stanley.
Let me go back to my job. Let me continue
I think I'm
pushing the
sleeping or
buttons.
something.
Please, it's all I want. I want my
me, Stanley.
apartment, and my wife, and my job.
I guess you could
All
call
I
this some
want
sort
is
of
my life exactly the
Stanley
way it's always
story.
been.
No,
My
that's
life
not quite
is
right.
normal.
Maybe a
I am normal.
parable?
Everything will be
Stanley
fine.
Parable?
I am okay.
Hey guys, I'm Stanley.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley.
My
I
name's
have a
Stanley.
boss. I have an office. I am real.
That
Please,
is my
just
thing. That's
someone
what I
tell me
say.
I'm real.
I'm
I must be
Stanley.
real. I must be connected with my voice. Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my
Hey
mind.
guys, I'm Stanley.
I
I'm
know
dead.
what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Hey guys, I'm Stanley. This is my parable.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided
I
to
know
go
what
to
I'm
the
doing
meeting
now,
room. Perhaps
'cause I'm
he had
Stanley.
simply missed a memo.
Stanley 2. Stanley again. Double Stan, double Lee. Yeah, that's right. Keeping you on your toes. It's me, Stanley. Yeah, that's right. But not the
No
Stanley
matter how hard
that was
Stanley
here
looked,
before.
he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Not your old Stanley. You can call me Stanley. but not the old one. Huh. Yeah. Just doing Stanley things. Huh. Maybe these Stanley things aren't the things the other Stanley would do. But it's me, Stanley. Stanley 2.
When Stanley
Yeah,
came
we're
to
going
accept the
crazy.
open door, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first
Stanley.
open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
And I'm Stanley.
Investing your trust in someone else can be difficult. But
Yeah,
the fact
I'm
is
Stanley.
That the story has been about nothing but you all this time. What?
I'm Stanley.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others?
My name is
Are you that
Stanley.
convinced
Stanley
that I want
2.
something bad to
And
happen
we're getting
to you?
crazy.
Why, I don't know how to
'Cause I'm
convince
Stanley.
you of this,
Stanley
but
2.
I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me
Hey,
prove that I'm
let me out of this room. I'm Stanley 2.
Now listen carefully, this is important.
The second Stanley.
walked through the red door.
I wasn't paying attention to what you said. Eeny, meeny, miny, Stanley.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Yeah, but that's Stanley. And I'm Stanley.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley
Yeah.
walked...
Get
All right,
Stanleyed.
go ahead,
Stanley 2.
You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies
I'm
at
the
the end
second
of this
Stanley.
road you've chosen? Well,
That's
don't
right.
let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place.
I'm
Broken
Stanley
rooms,
2.
exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for
I'm
you?
Stanley 2.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were
Stanley.
before. Go ahead, Stan. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
I'm gonna give it a Stanley.
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Clearly there's something here that speaks to you. If I can be honest here, I really don't have any idea where I'm going with this. This whole third door thing was just a stab in the dark. But I guess you're into it, so let's keep this party train rolling. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Stanley? Me? Yeah, that's right. This is my parable. I'm Stanley. Stanley 2.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors?
No, that wasn't
Again,
very Stanley.
Honest answers, please.
Too much parable. Not enough Stanley.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some play testing. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endless...
It's me, Stanley. I don't give a freaking Stan about some baby. It's me, Stanley. Stanley 2.
The message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why
I'm the
don't
second
you give it
Stanley.
4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Stanley 2. Yeah, that's me.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite
It's because I'm
me?
Stanley
Because
2.
if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience.
Make it more
for me.
Stanley.
I'm not even
Stanley
going to
2.
try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you
It's
for playing.
Stanley
Your
2.
input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is
It's
about?
me, Stanley. Stanley
What's
2.
our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So
Stanley.
far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it
Call me
seems there's even
Stanley.
more. Come,
Stanley
let's
2.
venture outward and see what else is out there.
Yeah, that's right. I'm Stanley. Huh. This looks like a tower to watch. Maybe for like fires? Huh. I don't know. It's me, Stanley. Stanley 2.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
I'm Stanley.
It is. It's an
Stanley
open
2.
world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh,
Oh, it's me, Stanley.
thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh,
That's a Stanley-sized hole right there.
we're out of the woods now,
It's
Stanley.
kind of gross. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find
Never
another
mind.
game. Preferably
It's me,
something with
Stanley.
walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
I'm Stanley.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run
Some
around.
sort of
There isn't any possibility
Rocket
that you
League?
could get lost here. Now this is game design.
What
Stanley,
tomfoolery.
if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's
Go sports ball.
Oh, what fun.
And I'm all
We
like,
shall run the bases
go
and do
sports
a
ball.
touchdown together.
It's me, Stanley.
Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
I'm Stanley. I'm gonna Stanley. Go Stanley! It's me, Stanley, by the way. If you couldn't tell.
Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley.
Once upon a time, there was one Stanley. Then, there was another Stanley. That other Stanley was me. Yeah, that's right. I'm Stanley. Stanley 2. I went the wrong way. It's me, Stanley 2. The second Stanley. Yeah. Huh. POV on my cup. Hey, I'm Stanley. A Stanley. Where am I going? Once upon a time, there was a Stanley. Just like the one you're looking at. Yeah, that's right. Stan me. Eminem. Stanley. Said me to me because I am Stanley.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now.
Guys, I'm
I
Stanley.
wonder if he's happy with his choice.
I am.
And if he's learned
Stanley.
the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon.
I always come
Very
back,
soon.
says the narrator.
I can wait.
I'm Stanley. Hey guys, Stanley here. And this is my parable.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Stanley
It's me.
decided to go to the meeting.
Stanley.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Stanley 3.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No. Stanley 3. You know, I don't know much about the other
Yet
Stanleys,
there
but
was not a single person
I
here
bet they were great
either.
Stanleys too, you know.
Feeling a wave of disbelief,
It's just me, Stanley 3.
decided to go up
All
to his
alone.
boss's office, hoping he coming to a staircase. Stanley
Looking for
walked
the big
upstairs
Stanley
to his
boss.
boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an
1,
indication
2,
of any human life.
3.
Shocked,
Stanley.
Unraveled, Stanley
Stanley
wondered
3.
in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so
Gasp!
the boss
I'm
had
Stanley
assigned
3.
an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known
28.
this.
Stanley 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Not Stanley
Amazing.
C. Oh,
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Stanley. Hey guys, it's me, Stanley 3. Back at you
Descending deeper into the building,
with the Stanley.
realized he felt
tongue.
a bit peculiar.
Yeah.
It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he
Stirring
felt more
Stanley.
free to think for himself.
Stanley
to
3.
question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
I'm Stanley.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
What? Escape. It's me, Stanley. 3.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Stanley 3. I'm gonna make a difference for all the
door
other
behind him
Stanleys.
was not shut. Stanley still had every
Gonna
opportunity
change
to turn around
the
and get
Stanley.
back on track.
The Stanley verse.
At this point, Stanley was making a
gonna
conscious,
fix it.
concerted effort to walk
End this
forward.
cycle of
Now he
Stanley.
may confront
It's me,
his
Stanley
death.
3. This one is for Stanley.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was
What's
inched
happening?
closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
Oh.
Stanley can't see the
This
big
can't
picture.
be the
He
end of
doesn't
Stanley
know the
3.
real story. Trapped
This
forever in his narrow
isn't
vision
what it was
of
meant
what
to
this
be.
world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss.
Oh
Like
no.
cutting the eyeballs from
I'm
a
Stanley
balloon. So
3.
he resigned and willingly accepted this
Oh.
violent end to his brief
No.
and shallow life.
Stanley
Farewell,
3.
Stanley.
No. This can't be the end of Stanley 3.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated
Stanley
as the machine crushed every
3.
bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Still. Hey guys, I'm Stanley. This is my parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever.
Stanley 3.
What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Yeah, that's right. Maybe I couldn't have made a change for the Stanleys, but at least I make them know. I'm Stanley 3.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Stanley 3. Stanley to understand. To know. Stanley. Stanley 3. Huh. Stanley. Stanley 3. Oh, Stanley. 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 Stanley 3. Stanley. Stanley 3. Stanley 3. That's me. Yeah. I guess. But what do I stand? Lee. Huh. I can't stand.
Oh, look at these two.
I can't Lee. I
How
can't
they
parable.
wish to destroy one another. How they wish
If
to control
there is no
one
Stanley 3,
another. How they both wish to
then
be
there will
free.
never be any more Stanley. But if there is Stanley 3, Stanley will be forever. It's me, Stanley 3.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail.
Oh, it's me, Stanley
Push
3.
escape and press quit. There's no other
I
way
can't
to
die this
win
way.
game.
I'm
As
Stanley
long as you
3.
move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path.
Stanley
Slow
3.
down, it'll be your only true choice.
Stanley
Do
3.
choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
Somebody, Stanley. Hey guys, this is my first video on YouTube. And I hope you subscribe and like the video so I can keep doing this. I like YouTube, you know. I always wanted to be YouTube. Hey guys, I'm Stanley, and this is my parable.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I'm Stanley.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yeah. Stanley, 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 Stanley. I'm
Yet
Stanley
there was
Ford.
not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Yeah, I'm Stanley. Stanley Ford. You know,
Stepping into his manager's
there's
office,
always enough Stanley to go
was
around.
once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the box. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as
I just
possible.
Stanley'd that.
He didn't even have a single
Stanley
minute to
Ford.
just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
That's. Oh yeah. This is some Stanley Ford stuff I can get behind.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the open
That was very Stanley
passageway.
Ford. I'm gonna do what the other Stanleys couldn't. Me, Stanley Ford. I'm gonna complete it. I'm gonna
walked straight
Stanley
ahead through
the
large
Stanley
door
way.
that read Mind Control Facility.
Stanley Ford. The Stanley to end it all.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place
What is
hold?
this?
Stanley thought to himself.
Stanley Ford
Did he
cannot
have to
stand for this.
Find out.
Have they been controlling the Stanleys? No. This is wrong.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed.
What?
Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's co-workers.
No.
The lives
No.
of so many individuals reduced to
They
images
can't
on the screen.
Stanley this.
Eternally
I
locked
can't
in this
stand
place where freedom
Leave this.
means nothing.
I'm Stanley. Stanley Ford. Stanley to change it all. I heard what they did to Stanley 3. They did to Stanley 1. What Stanley 2 did. And I can make that change that they all fought for. I'm Stanley 4.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had
This is
Stanley
wrong.
really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
I can't believe I would Stanley stand for this.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Stanley.
It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Stanley.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he
that's right.
would dismantle the controls once
I'm
and
Stanley.
for all.
Stanley 4.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the
It's
machine.
me, Stanley 4.
Himself from someone else's command. Freedom was
The
mere
Stanley that changed it all.
away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved.
There could
Where
be
had his
more
co-workers
Stanley.
gone? How had he been freed from the
I
machine?
have to end the cycle of Stanley.
What
Don't.
other mysteries did this
No.
strange building hold?
No.
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him.
I'm
For
Stanley.
it was not knowledge or even power
Stanley
that
4.
he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to
Stanley
understand,
To end
but to let
all
go.
Stanleys.
No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what
I'm
to do,
Stanley.
or how to feel.
Stanley 4.
Whatever life he lives, it will be his.
That's right.
And that was all he needed to know.
Stanley.
It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing.
Stanley 4.
Stanley stepped through the open door.
Stanley. Stanley 4.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.